All right, day 6. You just made it through the longest fast of this course and you're still here with me. So again, congratulations. Thank you for sticking with me through this. Today, I am going to share results from my personal fasting experiment, as well as a few stories and experiences from other clients that I've worked with that have tried intermittent fasting. It's not all pretty, and I'm not going to act like it is. I want to share some of the struggles that I had and some of the struggles that my clients have had, so I can teach you how to work through them if you find yourself in that same position. In my experiment, I did a 12 to 14 hour fast for 5 to 7 days a week for 8 weeks with a 5-day break in between. I found that a 13-hour fast worked best for my personal schedule. The biggest difference that I noticed was sleep. I slept so hard, it was glorious. It was rare that I woke up in the middle of the night, which I had often had an issue with in the past. Now, I don't normally weigh myself on a regular basis. The only time I dust off the scale is when I do an experiment like this in order to report any changes back to you guys. I did lose about 6 pounds in this process from what I would say is my normal weight. Throughout the 8 weeks, I continued to do CrossFit about 3 to 4 times per week. I did not see any decrease in strength, and I actually saw improvements in several workouts that were cardio-based, which is hard to say whether it's because I was just getting better at those movements like rowing or the assault bike, or if it had something to do with the actual fasting. I found that the need to eat a large dinner in the evening is a learned behavior, not necessarily a physiological need. Do I want to eat something when I come home from work late? Yes. Am I actually hungry? No. Truthfully, my body was not sending me a signal that I needed more food. Eating late was most times a form of reward for just making it to the end of the day. Even if I do a late workout, I don't eat anything afterward. I don't experience any increase in muscle soreness when doing that, or as I said, any decreases in strength. Now let's talk about the downside. The downside for me was there's really no such thing as a family dinner. If I'm not getting done with work before 5 p.m., I have to pack lunch and something dinner-ish to eat at the office, and then I'm not eating again when I get home. If you value being able to eat dinner in the evening with loved ones, you may have to commit to eating dinner a little bit earlier and then pushing your breakfast to a little bit later. During the second and third week, like I said, I was craving sugar and candy like crazy. Those cravings did go away, and so did the moodiness for the most part. When I did decide to eat late on a Saturday night, it was not a good experience. My stomach felt hard and bloated, and it felt like my digestive system was just doing nothing to break down the food. It wasn't unbearable or painful or anything like that, but it was just enough to make me not want to cheat and eat super late, even if I could get those same results from only doing it 5 days a week. But that being said, like with the whole family dinner thing, with the wanting to go out to eat on a Friday or Saturday night, you can do that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow about how you can fit that in with this schedule and with this intermittent fasting pattern. So, will I continue? Yeah, I feel good. I felt good then. I feel good now. I do see the benefits of it, and there's nothing about this that I don't find sustainable. Now, I don't think you can do it every single day, forever, all the time, but I think you can do it for the most part on most days. I say surprisingly that I'm continuing this because most of the time when I do these experiments on myself, like keto or vegan or carnivore, I'm really excited for them to be over with. This to me just feels like a new habit, something I can do naturally. My first experiment with fasting was back in 2018, and now I go through spurts of whether I'm actually tracking my fast or not, and I've gone through times where I've not done fasting at all and not cared about my eating or fasting windows. Those times are usually on vacation, like when I went to Italy with my girlfriends, and the cultural norm is to start eating dinner at 7 or 8 and continue several courses over several hours with several glasses or bottles of wine. I didn't worry about it while I was there. I didn't worry about fasting, and I just got back into my routine once I got home. I didn't say, oh, now I'm done with that and it's over and I can't do it again. Nope, just said, okay, for 7 days, 5 days, however long I was gone, I'm done with that. I will do it again once I get back. Here's a story from a client. The first time I fasted, I went from naturally eating within about a 12-hour window to a 16-hour fast. So she was actually starting out at a better point than most people. She says, I would break my fast at 11 a.m. and stop eating by 7 p.m. It was hard to get over that hungry feeling at first, but I adjusted quickly. The downfall was my approach. My eating window put me in a scarcity mindset where I felt like I had to eat everything the whole 8 hours during my eating window. I'd work out fasted, eat a healthy meal at 11, and then graze until lunch at 2, and then snack a few times until dinner at 6 or 6:30. Most of the time I did feel genuinely hungry, but it didn't feel good to be snacking constantly all day. When I was out with friends, it was a great reason to not indulge in something I didn't really want but would normally eat just because why not? When I knew I wanted to eat out, it sucked because I either had to push my fast till 12 or 1 p.m. the next day or arrange plans to eat sooner. I did like how easy it was to focus and get work done in the morning while fasting. It was a plus, but it doesn't outweigh the fact that I don't want to have the constant snacking mentality for the rest of the day. Now I naturally fast for 13 to 14 hours because I eat earlier in the day, around 8 a.m., but stop by 6 or 7 p.m. I feel good not eating after dinner because that is a time I normally want to snack for really no good reason. It's hard to not drink coffee, and I do sometimes drink black coffee during my fasting window. Now get ready for a little bit of TMI. She says, I have big bowel movements every morning, and that's weirdly satisfying. She's not alone here. I know some people get squeamish and embarrassed talking about it, but what comes in has to come out, and the frequency and consistency of your bowel movements is an important indicator of your overall digestive health. I've seen fasting regulate many other clients' digestive symptoms and even decrease the severity of their IBS symptoms. Which makes sense. You're giving your body a rest, so all those organs are going to work better. Now, back to her story. It is challenging with my new schedule, but I make it work. I like the 13-hour fast because I don't feel that eat while I still can mentality. I can space my meal times out and have snacks when I want them. It's also easier to work out with something light in my system. I used to live fasted, but noticed that my workouts were not as powerful. It's something that I will continue because it feels good to not be eating so late in the day. So she used trial and error to figure out the best routine that worked for her. Just because the 16-8 fast wasn't working, she didn't give up or feel guilty, but instead she tried a different approach until she found what stuck. That's why we are varying our fast throughout the 7 days. I want you to experiment with this and figure out what works best for your schedule. Another client broke down his experience into the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, he said, I had a strong start and immediate results. I lost 10 pounds in the first 2 weeks. I slept better and was able to go to bed easier. My cravings were reduced at night, and I was not as groggy in the morning. The bad. Workday habits and my non-regular schedule kept pushing the fast starting time later. I wanted to eat dinner at 7 p.m., but I was usually not sitting down until 8:30 p.m. or later. I still wanted to end my fast the next morning at 8 a.m. instead of pushing it, and I still wanted to end my fast the next morning at 8 instead of pushing it to the minimum of 12 hours. So this was a timing issue. It was a time management issue. So in this case, I would say you have to have your dinner prepped and ready at least a day in advance. Cook once and eat the same thing 3 to 4 times so you don't have to worry about cooking or prepping if you happen to get home later than you anticipated. You can also be building up your freezer bank of foods by making extra every single time you make a meal, taking single serving portions, putting them in the freezer, and then that way they're ready within minutes by the time you get home. If you're failing to plan ahead, you're going to fail. You're not going to be able to do this if you don't have things planned ahead. The second thing he said in the bad, morning routines. If I wanted to work out in the morning, I couldn't have my pre-workout protein bar and found that it restricted me. I usually had a protein shake on the way to work, but with later eating, I cut my fast short in order to stick to that routine in the morning of having the bar. what I have to say to that is you can't have it all. You can't have it all. You can choose between eating an earlier dinner, skipping your pre-workout bar, or working out at another time. Again, if it's not challenging, you're not changing anything, you're just following the status quo and doing what you've always done, you're not going to see any results. Number 3 in the bad. Constant obsessing of getting my calories in and how I'm restricting during that time. I almost want to rebel against it. Yeah, I've been there. This is what I refer to as that Last Supper mentality. You're used to having food available to you constantly and consistently. Rest assured, though, that food is not going anywhere. If you need to eat, you can. Food will be there the next day. Food will be there the next day and the next. You're not missing out on anything by fasting for a few hours. It's always going to be there. That's the world that we live in, and thank goodness that we do. Now, the ugly from the same client. Constantly beating myself up for not succeeding in the fast was number 1. I would say instead of beating yourself up, focus on what you need to change to be successful. Reach out for help. Make a plan each day that's going to lead to success. The night before, make that plan. 2 days before, 3 days before, make that plan and follow through with it so you can feel good about the positive changes that you're making instead of beating yourself up when you don't succeed. Number 2, late night cravings or drinks with friends would deter me. If I broke the fast, then I was all in breaking the fast, not just a small break and then returning. If you break the fast, fine. That's like getting a scratch on your phone and then throwing it in the middle of the street and watching it get it run over 100 times, watching it smash. If you want to break the fast, but don't go in, it's not an all-in mentality. You don't need to then eat the entire restaurant. You broke the fast? Okay, no big deal. You start over the next day. This is life. It's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do the wrong thing. You're going to do the right thing. You just got to start over the next day. It's no reason to go all out and go all in. Number 3, he said, I slowly gained back all of the weight over a few months from slowly moving away from good habits. Well, all of those things that I said before would take care of that slowly gaining the weight back. So instead of being committed to following the fast, instead of being committed to planning ahead, all those other things got in the way and there was no change. They decided that the challenge was too hard, went back to old habits, and of course, any benefits that you get from that change are going to go away as soon as you stop doing that. He also said, I knew what I needed to do, but I constantly struggled on how to commit. Go back to your motivations. Why did you want to start fasting in the first place? If it's for weight loss, why do you want to lose weight? Get specific with yourself. Get real with yourself. Is it because you want to have less knee pain? Is it because you want to be able to run down the soccer field with your grandkids? Is it because you want to fit back into your favorite jeans? Whatever the reason, be honest with yourself and connect those small goals like daily fasting to those larger goals. It's those seemingly little decisions, those teeny tiny little decisions that you make every single day that lead to those big results. We tend to make these small goals, which is great and is exactly what we need to hit those big goals, but then we forget why we're doing those small goals in the first place. And we're like, it doesn't matter if I fast tonight, no big deal. But it does matter, and it does matter over time with that consistency. Consistency is the only way you're going to see lasting results. And the last experience I'm going to share comes from a couple who said, the hardest part about fasting for 12 hours was planning breakfast for the next day. Our schedule fluctuates daily, so our 12 hours started at different times every day. Our biggest struggle was that we had to start meal prepping and better planning. The changes we made started mostly by being aware of how one day affects the next day. So again, a planning and time management. If our snack was at 8 p.m., we couldn't eat breakfast until 8 a.m., which didn't work if we started work at 8 a.m., so planning is crucial. However, our biggest challenge became our biggest benefit. Yay! It is great not having to think about what to eat at each meal. If we meal prep, the decision's already made. There is no room for error if you plan your meals and have your snacks handy. If you have to make a decision when you're hungry, it usually tends to be the wrong decision. I then asked them if fasting was something they would continue in the future, and they said, absolutely. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like your body is receiving the rest that it needs. So I will leave you with that as we go into the second to last day of this course. Tonight, we're actually going to decrease our fast back down to 15 hours. Please keep in mind, note any differences that you feel compared to your 16-hour fast last night. I'm sure you've seen on the app where you can kind of track like how things felt, if it was good, if you felt tired or whatever. But I definitely want you to do that so you can review that at the end of this course. I will see you tomorrow.